สวัสดีครับ I'm Point from ค้นพบ Happy New Year 2023 and on that occasion let's talk about goal setting. 3 quick and easy tips for effective goal setting this coming New Year 2023. New Year, new you, new year, new me. Now first of all, have you ever wondered why is it that when we set these New Year's resolutions, we often forget about it quite soon? We don't follow up on it, or we give up on it sooner or later, perhaps after 2 or 3 weeks. And the answer is simply this. It's oftentimes when we set these New Year's resolutions, we don't truly believe it. It's really just as simple as that. So tip number 1, think about the believability of the goal that you're setting or telling yourself that you want to achieve. Do you really believe it? So in other words, know where you're currently at, make peace with where you're currently at, and set goals that you can genuinely believe and see as a possibility. Don't set goals way too far ahead out there because you're not going to believe it. And if you don't believe it and you try to implement it for the first week or two and you give up later, you're only going to reinforce the disbelief in it. You're only going to reinforce the limiting beliefs that, see, I knew it wouldn't have worked. Who was I to think that this could have worked? I'm just kidding myself. I'm just fooling myself. You see what's going on here? So for example, let's use the help of an example. Let's say that for me, I want to set a goal about my physical health and fitness, right? I do go for a jog once in a while, about 2 or 3 times a week. And my goal is to set that as a habit and to push myself a little bit further. Maybe run on average 6 kilometers per jogging per evening. And that would be something that I can believe because currently running 5 kilometers is a good level of difficulty for me where I'm at, right? So in other words, if I were to tell myself that I'm going to set a goal that I can run a marathon, 42 kilometers in the next 2 months, yeah, forget it. I'm not going to believe it. You see what I mean? Set something that you can genuinely believe that pushes yourself a little bit from where you currently are. This leads to number 2, right? A good balance between skill set and challenge. Now, this concept goes to Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's flow, the psychology of optimal experience. Put simply, in order to have continued and sustainable growth, we want to challenge ourselves that at a level that is appropriate for our given level of current skill set, right? So if I'm running 5 kilometers per evening, each time I go out for a run twice a week, and when I go for a run or a jog, I'm running about 5 kilometers. Therefore, a good goal would be, okay, how about try to push myself to 6 or 7 kilometers, right? Or maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes. You see what I mean? Don't push yourself to go for a 2-hour jog right away. You see? So the thing is, when our challenge is too difficult, given our current level of skill set or given where we are currently at, it would not become fun. It would become expressed as anxiety. You'd feel anxious about it. You'd feel stressful about it. On the other hand, if I just set a goal of 2 kilometers jog or 3 kilometers jog, is too easy given where I'm at, so I'll get bored of it and there will be no growth. And so this balancing point between challenge and skill set is what we could call flow. And again, I'll paste a link to Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's book in the description box and a link to a video that I previously talked about this before a few years back. And there are many videos on YouTube that talk about flow, the psychology of optimal experience. So be sure to check that out too. So again, to recap so far, number 1, believability. Set goals where you can genuinely believe. Number 2, skill set. Balance between challenge and skill set. The concept of flow. And what about number 3? Number 3 is simply to process it. Once you have pushed yourself out there and you have accomplished the goal, say you went for an exercise, you kept a good eating habit, a healthy habit, a sleeping habit, or whatever it may be that you're after, right? Really think about it. Really process it. To process means to really think about it, to really put yourself there, and to really contemplate on why it was a positive experience. So, Number one, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What made it a positive experience? Number 2, what would you say to a friend of yours if your friend had told you of this accomplishment? And number 3, what have you learned from this? These 3 questions will help you to process your experience. So again, let's say I go for a jog and I run 7 kilometers or I run 8 kilometers, right? What made it a positive experience? Well, I took the time and effort to go out for a jog in the evening, and it felt really, really good. I had a nice exercise. Now I feel really, really great. It was a positive experience. I pushed myself. What would you tell a friend? Congratulations, man. You can do it. I know you can really push yourself out there. And sooner or later, I can really see that you're going to develop this into a real, sustainable, and genuine habit of exercise. Number 3, what would you learn? What have you learned from this? Well, I learned that I can control my habits. I can achieve my goals if I put in deliberate and consistent effort. That is a good match given where I'm at. And that is where growth lies. And that's how growth happens. So that's really how you process it. Put yourself in it. Bring yourself emotionally there to feel the positive effects or the positive emotions of what you had just achieved. And this builds, and sooner or later it will have a snowball effect. Okay? And I'll give you a bonus one. Number 4 is simply to rinse and repeat. Repeat this process. By the time that you've done this a few times, you will notice that your skill set expands and you get a little bit more skillful. So for example, in my case, maybe I'm running 6 kilometers now, 7 kilometers now per average, on average. So maybe next time I can push myself to run 8 kilometers or 9 kilometers. Or maybe add it another day of the week. Maybe exercise 3 days in a week, not just 2. You see what I mean? So before we end the clip, I want to add another example. Let's say you want to improve the relationships with other people. Say maybe it could be somebody in your family. It could be a sibling. It could be a brother or a sister. It could be your parents. It could be a relative. It could be an employee. It could be your boss. It could be your son or daughter, right? Let's say you want to set this as a New Year's resolution to improve your relationships with them. Again, number 1, believability, right? If you set a goal that says, for example, I'm never going to get angry at mom and dad again. I'm never going to get into an argument with them again. I know now that I don't need to. I'm not going to ever get into an argument with them again. Yeah, do you really believe it? You see what I mean? Unlikely, right? So set a realistic goal. Perhaps, for example, set a goal to be more mindful when you're about to get upset in relation to what your mom and dad says or what he or she does. You see what I mean? And try to manage and be aware of those emotions quicker. Be aware and be more mindful of those emotions and don't let it overpower you. Just watch it, right? Or for example, it could be simply if you want to work on patching up or healing or improving a relationship with a distant brother or a distant sister or a relative, maybe it could be a simple goal of being the first to reach out to them, being the first to call them, right? And how would you process this experience? Well, when you take the effort to make the first phone call, it takes courage, doesn't it? Especially if it's a case where you've been fighting or you've had a history of fighting or some arguments or some conflict. So it takes courage to be the first one to make that phone call. So process that, right? Tell yourself that this was a positive experience because the fact that I took the courage to make that phone call, it shows that from my end, I'm trying to learn and trying to improve. I'm trying to amend things and make things better. What would you say to a friend? Congratulations, man. I knew that took a lot of courage and bravery. I know, especially given the context of what happened in the past, for you to overcome that and walk and look past that and make that phone call, it must have taken a lot of courage. Well done. What have you learned from this? Well, you can make friendships, you can heal relationships, and you're in control. You're in way more control than you previously have believed. and that just because the past was a bit rocky or there were some arguments or some conflicts does not mean that the future has to be that way. There's always an opportunity for change. At the very least, if they don't respond positively, at the very least, you have changed. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Okay? So think about that. I hope these 3 tips were valuable for you for this new year, 2023, new year, new me. Sustainable way to really set effective and long-lasting goals. Number 1, believability. Set a goal where you can genuinely believe it. Number 2, flow, the psychology of optimal experience. In other words, set a challenge or a goal that is just a little bit beyond your current level of skill set to push you a little bit to have room for growth. But not too difficult, otherwise it'll be stressful. Not too easy, otherwise you'll be bored. And number 3, process it. What made it a positive experience? What would you tell a friend if your friend shared with you these wonderful news? And what have you learned from it? Really put yourself there. Really bring yourself there emotionally. And grow and learn from it. Okay? I hope this was valuable. And again, Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best in health, in happiness, in peacefulness, in mindfulness. I'll see you next time. สวัสดีครับ